The February 17th, 2026 legislative session of the Anne Arundel County Council is called to order. Please ensure all phones and electronic devices are set to silent. Ms. Pickard will now lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Good evening. Today we pause to honor the life and legacy of Jesse Jackson, a tireless champion for civil rights, human dignity, and justice. Through courage, faith, and unwavering commitment, he helped bend the moral arc of our nation towards equality and inspired generations to stand up, speak out, and serve others. As we reflect on his contributions and the lives he touched, let us commit ourselves to carrying forward the values he lived by: compassion, justice, and unity. I now ask that we observe a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you. And the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chair. Yes. May I make a quick statement? Yes. Ms. Robbian.
Thank you. I'd like to just make a brief statement about an incident that took place on one of our colleagues' campaigns this weekend. I'm guessing that many of you in the audience here have indeed had folks knock on your door because you're active and you're regular voters and you show up at the polls. In order to make our campaigns run, all of us have lots and lots of volunteers that help knock doors. And over the weekend, an African-American volunteer for Pete Smith's campaign knocked on a door and was greeted by awful, awful racist epithets, language, threats. And thankfully, they were able to identify the person and the police were contacted. But I just want to just take a moment to stand up together, or at least in our minds, bring our thoughts together that we all condemn that kind of behavior. And if you just would even nod your head in any way to say that you condemn that kind of behavior, I think it would mean a lot. And as we go into the campaign season, you're likely to get campaign volunteers coming to knock on your door. And it may not be at a time that you want to talk to anyone, but just remember they are volunteers and they're serving a really critical part of our democratic process by helping get the message out of our candidates. So I know many of the folks in the room, and I'm confident that everyone in here would treat those door knockers with kindness. But if you have conversations with neighbors or other folks, just remind them those are volunteers and they're trying to make sure that our democracy functions. So I thank you guys for taking that nod with me and condemning that kind of behavior. So thank you.
So, Madam Secretary, please read the ethics statement.
The Ethics Commission has asked that I advise you that under certain circumstances, members of the public may qualify as lobbyists when they testify before the County Council. If so, the law requires that certain information be filed with the Ethics Commission. The chair of the Ethics Commission has asked that those who wish to testify in any form review the general information on lobbying sheet located on the Ethics website under Forms and Publications. If there are any questions about lobbying requirements, please contact the Ethics Commission at 410-222-4412.
Okay. Before we open our discussions and public hearings, I would like to remind everyone in attendance, whether testifying or as a member of the audience, that we must maintain decorum at all times within these chambers. Please understand that individual conversations in the audience are very disruptive to the proceedings, and I would kindly ask you to step out of the chambers if a side discussion is necessary. We will now open our invitation to the audience. This is an opportunity to speak briefly on any subject not included in the printed agenda. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair. We received 4 pieces which have been shared with the Council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
We will now call on individuals who signed up ahead of the meeting. When I call your name, please come up to the table and have a seat. When it is your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit as others are signed up to speak. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts using our online testimony tool. We have 3 people signed up ahead of time: Shannon Hoey, Kyle Nimhard, and Casey Cameron. And if there's anyone else here who wishes to speak on an item not on the agenda, you may come up at this time. Mr. Nimhard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kyle Nemhard, Glen Burnie, Maryland. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the County Council. A lot of things that are legal are not right. In this country, it was once legal to sell people. It was legal to deny women the right to vote. So legal is not the standard, right is the standard. Words from the late Reverend Jesse Jackson, who we just recently lost earlier today. This quote was a direct challenge to, I have the permits, so I'm doing nothing wrong. Similar rhetoric we heard from our Spencer Glen developer the Monday before Thanksgiving during a required meeting on their sketch plan. It is fitting that the late Reverend's quote references the former legality of slavery. Just last year, the county issued a formal apology for slavery. Yet the Freetown neighborhood, the first community established by free slaves in Maryland and designated as a neighborhood preservation area by Plan 2040, is being steamrolled by this council's legislation in the same time frame. Bill 1924 was passed and is written with language to single out this neighborhood preservation area. Only one line in Bill 1924 makes this possible, a line that as a developer would find very convenient to slip in. Montgomery County Council unanimously passed a bill last fall prohibiting developers from using workforce housing laws to develop flag lots. These are lots that don't have direct access to adequate roadway networks. They understood the importance of preventing private developers from exploiting laws intended to provide affordable housing to working families and the county's workforce. This was a slam dunk for this council, but unfortunately we dropped the ball. It appears to me that the professional planners know the Spencer Glen proposal, or at least as it's currently proposed, is extremely flawed. As Jesse Jackson said, a lot of things that are legal are not right. True leadership lies in the guided discovery of experts' truth, not in the imposition of the leader's will. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Nimhard. Mr. Higgins.
Thank you. Paul Higgins, Pasadena, Maryland, for the record. As I was looking at the calendar today, you guys tried to slip one in on me here. Meeting started at 6 instead of 7, so my apologies for walking in the door late. However, I was caught off guard by my wife walked in the door with a letter that we received for a county meeting. It came today for a meeting about a traffic light at Evening Star and Jumpers Hole Road. Yet another one that's going to modify the existing one that's hanging there that's not in service yet. And the meeting's going to be held in District 5. Now, this light sits between District 2 and District 3. It affects the residents in District 2 and District 3. Why are we having a meeting in Severna Park Library? You can't tell me I passed the Eastern District Police Station on the way down here, Marley Junior High or Marley Middle School, Freetown Elementary, they held a meeting there, and we're going to have it at District 5. I've read all this about 5 minutes, or you all would have a copy of it in your inboxes. It's a little bothersome when we've been working on this since March, and it just seems to want to die on the vine. Mr. Pittman wants to run his mouth at the Heritage Complex about moving Jumpers Hole Road forward, okay? He ought to come down and talk to us, because he has yet to have a meeting with me, and I'm talking to you. So, I not you, sir, I'm pointing at the camera, okay?
It's like,
That's all I got to say to that.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
I think the officer was a little confused.
No, he wasn't drawing on me or anything. Okay, all right.
All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Higgins. All right. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Seeing no movement, okay. Please state your name and address for the record.
Of course. My name is Dr. Shannon Hoy, 1573 Provincial Lane, Severn, Maryland. Good evening. I'm here tonight as a parent because of a firearm entered an elementary school in our county, and that should stop every one of us in our tracks. When I send my 4th grader to school each day, I'm not hoping that his safety is a priority for ACPS. I'm expecting that it is. When a firearm makes its way into an elementary building, then we find out by local news reports and receive no follow-up written communications from school officials, the trust that I have for the district prioritizing our children's safety significantly weakens. What brings me here tonight is not just the incident itself, but what follows it. Because what follows incidents like these reveals who we are, what we prioritize, what we are willing to change, and whether we are serious about prevention moving forward. The firearm incident at Freetown Elementary was not minor. It was a serious breach of safety in an elementary building. While response matters, prevention matters more. In my humble opinion, Dr. Bedell's brief Thursday Thought video is not a sufficient follow-up to an incident of this magnitude. All ACPS families deserve transparent communication about what has happened, what safeguards are being strengthened, and what proactive steps will be taken to prevent this from happening again. Research, data, and our own personal experience from this Freetown incident proves that we cannot wait until high school to address gun safety awareness within an educational framework. If elementary-age children are developmentally ready to learn about personal safety and abuse prevention, they are also capable of learning that firearms are not toys and must never be brought into school. I am asking that this council treat this moment not as an isolated incident, but as an opportunity to examine policies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. The invitation to audience is now closed. Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda? All right. May I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill or resolution, or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole?
So moved, Allison Pickard.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the minutes of the legislative session of February 2nd, 2026.
The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Hummer at 7:04 p.m. It was opened with the invocation given by Mr. Smith and was followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. The meeting was held in the County Council chambers in Annapolis, Maryland.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the legislative session of February 2nd, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes of the legislative session of February 2nd, 2026 stand approved as read. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of the bills to be introduced this evening.
Bill number 1226, an ordinance concerning capital budget and program, Board of Education security-related upgrades and upgrade various school capital projects, supplementary appropriations. Bill number 1326, an ordinance concerning construction and property maintenance code supplement, fire prevention code amendments. Bill number 1426, an ordinance concerning purchasing, acquisition of real property by gift. And Bill number 1526, an ordinance concerning zoning, outdoor lighting.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of the resolutions to be introduced this evening.
Resolution number 426, resolution confirming the appointments of Arundel County residents to serve on the Spending Affordability Committee.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 726.
Bill number 726, an ordinance concerning current expense budget supplementary appropriations.
Mr. Trumbauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer from the administration. I'm joined by Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer, and Kelly Kenny from Office of Law. We urge your...
We get you both today.
Yeah. So as discussed at the work session, this is an appropriation bill. It does three main things. It moves the $500,000 that we gave to the food bank from the CAO's office. It also appropriates $368,400 to the health fund, the health department. This is out of the funds we held in reserve for federal impacts. And Dr. Gedden can tell you more about that if you'd like. And then finally, it recognizes $178,600 in appropriation for the Laurel Racetrack Impact Aid that was part of House legislation that wasn't quite finalized by the time we introduced the budget last year. So happy to entertain any questions.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All right, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 726. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on Bill number 726? Seeing no movement, the public hearing on Bill number 726 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 726.
Bill number 726, an ordinance concerning current expense budget supplementary appropriations.
Okay, any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 726.
Ms. Pickard? Aye. Mr. Volkey is absent. Ms. Fiedler is absent. Ms. Radvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
5 in the affirmative, 2 absent. Bill number 726 is passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 826.
Bill number 826, an ordinance concerning current expense budget, Board of Education supplementary appropriation and transfers of funds.
Mr. Trumbauer and Mr. Trumbauer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer for the administration. This is a Board of Ed transfer bill, so I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Stansky from Board of Ed, who can answer any question you have about it.
Mr. Stansky, tell us what you're doing.
$4 million dollar supplemental in the general fund to finish off our ERP upgrade, which is our budget and finance and HR software, and then our typical transfer and supplementals for federal funds based on federal funding we got from MSDE after July 1st. So again, happy to answer any questions.
And I asked this before at the work session, but just again, we have not seen a reduction or a stoppage of federal funds.
No, they're
at this
flowing
point.
as normal. Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there any other discussion? We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 826. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on Bill number 826? Seeing no movement, public hearing on Bill number 826 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 826.
Bill number 826, an ordinance concerning current expense budget, Board of Education supplementary appropriation and transfers of funds.
Okay, any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 826.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Volkey is absent. Ms. Fiedler is absent. Ms. Radvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
5 in the affirmative, 2 absent. Bill number 826 is passed.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 9225 as amended.
Bill number 9225, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, zoning, cottage home development.
All right, Mr. Smith, this is your bill.
This has been a long road. Today is really an up and down vote on this this particular bill. This cottage home bill, it expires shortly after today, and I'm hoping my colleagues will certainly find it in their hearts to support this legislation. It does a couple things. It does increase some density for cottage homes, small homes. It does carve out a lane for that type of development to occur, primarily because it's going to be, when they're smaller homes, they're going to be less expensive. And so for me, when we, the government, involve ourselves into policies, it does have to be, in my mind, a meaningful initiative to help those folks that are citizens in the county or that want to become citizens and purchase a home here. This has protections in there so that folks who are in a certain price bracket can be leveraged through ACDS to help administrate this policy where they can purchase these homes. They are extremely beautiful, the ones that I've seen and the ones that I'm certainly advocating for. But I think it's going to be a huge asset to citizens here in Anne Arundel County to actually afford a home of their own, where young people who are in their early ages or even seniors who want to downsize and they don't need a large home, they can certainly purchase one of these to do that. And so I would just am hopeful that we can, even if there are imperfections in every policy, if we have to tweak anything, there's always an opportunity in the future to make adjustments. But right now we have something that is good. And I've always said, don't make perfect the enemy of good. And we have something that's going to open the door and allow real opportunities for folks to purchase homes here in Anne Arundel County at an affordable price. And I'm just hopeful we can get that across the finish line today. So thank you.
Okay. Mr. Evelyn.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the council. Jansen Eve on behalf of the administration. To my right, Lynn Miller, Assistant Planning and Zoning Officer, Nori Suter, Chief Affordable Housing Officer, and Kelly Kenny from the Office of Law. To be clear, this is the council members' bill, but the administration supports it. As I've been on the record saying, this is an additional tool in the toolbox. This aligns with some of the policy recommendations that we found in Plan 2040. And realistically, while we're not claiming that this bill will come out and solve everything or solve everything overnight, and we have to wait to see how the market reacts, we believe that this reflects a good faith attempt to expand flexible housing options. So with regards to the technical to the conflict that Councilmember Smith saying in terms of we can work out, this is something that we believe that in the future we can come back, work with the council member to tweak and make this policy even better. But the administration recommends passing this legislation tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any discussion? We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 9225 as amended. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair. We received one piece which was shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
Okay, we will now call on individuals who signed up ahead of the meeting. When I call your name, please come up to the table and have a seat. When it's your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit as others are signed up to speak. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts as early as tomorrow using our online testimony tool. We have one person signed up, Trudy McFall. I don't see Ms. McFall here. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak on Bill number 9225? Come on up. Go ahead.
Introduce myself.
Yes.
My name is Carol Brooks, currently live in Silver Spring, Maryland. I am the president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Anne Arundel County chapter.
Go right ahead.
Greetings, Madam Chair and City Councils. My name is Carol Brooks, president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Anne Arundel County chapter. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Anne Arundel County chapter is a 501c3 organization whose mission is to advocate on behalf of Black women and girls and promote leadership development, gender equity, in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. I rise in support of the Cottage Home Bill because it advances one of the most stable and responsible housing models available to local governments, shared equity homeownership. Shared equity home housing is not a temporary affordability problem. It is a steward land use tool, ensuring when public policy creates housing opportunities where opportunities do not disappear after a single resale. This protects both the resident and the county long-term investments. These homes remain owner-occupied. They cannot be flipped, converted to short-term rentals, or absorbed by investors. When paired with a community land trust or designated stewardship oversight, shared equity housing includes ongoing compliance monitoring, resale approval, and long-term accountability, ensuring the intent of the legislation is upheld over time. This model supports workforce households, allowing seniors of age to age in place, and increase hardship and excludes hardship protection for families facing military transfer and employment relocations. If affordability is acceptable only in already struggling neighborhood, then it is not true affordability. It is displacement by another name. For these reasons, I support moving this bill forward tonight, advancing the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Rachel Strum, and my address is 2254 Dairy Farm Road, Gambros, Maryland. And I submit this testimony both as a national affordable housing finance professional who provides public policy expertise to the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, and as a resident of Anne Arundel County, who cares deeply about the long-term strength and stability of our housing landscape. I've worked in affordable housing and community-focused lending for more than 2 decades, including in my current role as a loan officer and underwriter with the National Affordable Housing CDFI in Washington, D.C. My work focuses on structuring sustainable home ownership models, reducing foreclosure risk, and ensuring that public investments in housing produce lasting community benefit. Tonight, I am here in support of the Cottage Home Bill. This legislation represents an important and pragmatic step forward. It expands housing choice, introduces innovative home ownership opportunities, and signals that Anne Arundel County is willing to think thoughtfully about how land use and affordability intersect. As someone who works daily in housing finance, I can say with confidence that stewarded home ownership models, including shared equity and community land trust aligned approaches, have demonstrated exceptional stability, lower foreclosure rates, and long-term durability across market cycles. These models show that affordability and stability are not in conflict. While I fully support advancing this bill as is tonight, I also believe there is future opportunity to continue strengthening its alignment with long-term stewardship principles. Shared equity models offer tools that ensure affordability runs with the land and that public benefit endures beyond the first resale. Those conversations can and should continue as this policy evolves. Advancing the bill today preserves momentum. It keeps Anne Arundel County moving forward while leaving room for refinement.
Thank you, Ms. Strom.
Thank you.
So, the public hearing on Bill number 9225 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 9225 as amended.
Bill number 9225, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, zoning, cottage home development.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 9225 as amended.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey is still absent. Ms. Fiedler is still absent. Ms. Radbian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Nay.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 2 absent. Bill number 9225 has passed.
Madam Secretary, please call the, please read the title of Bill number 9825 as amended.
Bill number 9825, an ordinance concerning public works, traffic, zoning, signs.
Okay, Mr. Evelyn?
Good evening again, Jansen Evelyn on behalf of the administration. To my right, Lynn Miller, Assistant Plan and Zoning Officer, Jessica Bella, OPZ Consultant, and Kelly Kenny from the Office of Law. I'm sorry, I forgot. Normally I just sit in there and wait until Ethan talks. So,
No, you're the one that's supposed to talk tonight.
I'm the Ethan today. Obviously, this legislation, I know that there's some amendments that are hovering out there. However, the administration's position with respects to those amendments, respectfully, we ask that they be held off. We support the base bill, the clean bill that is currently ready for a vote, absent any additional amendments. With regards to the other concerns that one of the council members' amendments has started to look into, we believe that, well, not to believe, OPZ has already started the research on holistic, legally defensible outdoor lighting code language that would work. But obviously, this is our bill, and we ask for your support. But we're going to wait to comment any further on the additional amendments.
Okay. And I'm just going to break aside. Ms. McFall, you had signed up for cottage home, and we already voted on it, but I just want to let you know it passed. So we appreciate you coming out for it, but it's... No, it's done now, but I just wanted to let you know. We started early, but we appreciate you coming out and testifying in the past about it, and it did pass. So I wanted to let you know since you came in. Thank you. So, all right, we'll now open discussion. Is there any discussion before we go to public hearing? Okay, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 9825 as amended. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on Bill number 9825? Okay. Do you see some people coming? Ms. Bray?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Kenley Bray. I'm here on behalf of NAOP, which is a coalition of commercial property owners. And as I testified the first time this bill was heard, I want to commend the Office of Planning and Zoning for the process that they undertook to seek feedback and to talk through some of the changes. And I think this is a great bill and a wonderful step in the right direction. I do, as Mr. Evelyn pointed out, there's some amendments floating around, and I just wanted to speak on that for a moment. One of the things that NAOP had suggested in the course of the signage work group was an exemption for interior signage. This bill already does that for properties like arenas and other similar facilities where the signage would not be visible to from the public right of way, but it is and is interior to the facility. Industrial parks, campuses, and similar facilities frequently have directional signage and address signage that no one from the street can even see. And yet it must be permitted, it must meet the regulations, it must be part of a large sign package in most cases that gets reviewed by county staff. So we think that similarly, these types of signage interior on a campus-like setting should not require a permit either. This is entirely on private property and for the purpose of directing traffic within that property. So with that, we would support the bill, and again, thank the Office of Planning and Zoning, all of the people who participated on the sign work group, and the council for spending a lot of time and effort on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bray. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on Bill number 9825? Okay, the public hearing on Bill number 9825 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 9825 as amended.
Bill number 9825, an ordinance concerning public works, traffic, zoning, signs.
Okay. Any further discussion before we move forward with amendments? All right. Madam Secretary, there are 3 amendments. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 3.
Amendment number 3. This amendment requires external illumination of signs to be shielded, directed downward, utilizing warm-colored light and on timers.
Okay, Ms. Rodvian, this is your amendment.
Thank you. Because I haven't actually introduced it, I can't officially withdraw it, but I would like to withdraw the amendment for consideration.
Okay.
And I have an alternative that we can discuss at the appropriate time.
Okay. All right. Madam Secretary, let's see. Please read amendment number 4.
Amendment number 4. This amendment exempts signs in the interior of business complexes, industrial parks, and other campuses where such signage is not visible from the public right-of-way.
Okay, Ms. Fiedler, this is your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment speaks to the testimony that we just heard, and I move the amendment forward. Motion to adopt.
Rodvian, second.
All right. Mr. Evelyn?
Yes, again, Jansen Evelyn. Next to me is Lynn, Jessica, Kelly. I'm going to kick the administration's response on this particular amendment over to Lynn and Jessica.
Thank you, Lynn Miller, Planning and Zoning. We would not support this amendment, and the basic reason is that we feel it's contrary to the stated government interests that are in the purpose statement of this bill for a signage program, part of which is to ensure safe transportation environments and to ensure that too much signage doesn't degrade the aesthetics. I'm going to ask our consultant, Jessica Bella, to speak to this too, because I know she did a lot of research related to this topic.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, so this was a recommendation that came up for discussion in the work group. It was discussed internally at OPC, and I think the recommendation that made it into the final bill that's before you tonight was not to include this type of exemption. primarily because given the government interest of traffic safety and aesthetics, you still have this public realm, even if you're traveling on a private roadway in a business park or a campus setting, where you still have the same issues of distraction or sign signage. And we felt that given the great amount of private roadway that exists in the county, it would undermine that government interest. And so if you were going to have this exemption, it should extend to all private right-of-ways, not just those of business complexes and campuses or those kind of facilities, which are very different than the tight arena facility or stadium facilities or park facilities that was an exemption. You're typically not traveling through space once you're in an arena or a stadium, so you don't have those same transportation issues. So those were kind of the practical issue. Those were the land use issues. And then there's also the practical issue of when environments are not static. So if you allow any signage without any kind of control, if it's not visible from a public right-of-way, and then a parcel between that public right-of-way and that business complex then develops, and now all that signage that was previously exempt is visible from the public right-of-way, it's now technically not meeting the, you're not visible from the public right-of-way. So now you have an aesthetic and a traffic safety issue. And, depending on the seasons, whether it's fall or not. So there's a lot of practical difficulties of also trying to administer that kind of amendment. So ultimately, it was not recommended to carve it out. There's also, I have to say, from a First Amendment point of view, it is kind of carving out a category of land use, and I'm not sure that carving out has been adequately justified in your stated purpose section. So you would need to revisit that and make sure that it holds up.
Questions or comments? Ms. Robian.
Thank you. Would you mind giving, I know you mentioned the example of, you maybe have a single property, but then intermediate property where the status of the, public nature changes. Is there another example where that you could provide, that's an entirely within a business complex or an industrial park, that how this could be something, an important interest of the county to, regulate and require permitting?
So I think part of it is one way to think about it is several of your town center areas, the roadways internal to those are considered private roadways. So they're not public right-of-ways, but there's clearly interest that you have stated in several of your design guidance to control the aesthetics of those areas. So controlling the signage that's allowed for in those areas is part of the aesthetics government interest. Same thing as if you get a larger business complex where you have complex transportation roadway systems, there's still the stated government interest in ensuring that the type of signage that's installed there is not distracting, that it has supported by evidence-based kind of safety traffic standards for signage. And then when you do get very complex or large business complexes, there is the signage program where if they have special sign needs, there is the avenue of the sign program to establish different signage. But overall, the total amount of signage that's proposed in the bill, I think, meets most needs of most users.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So going to a town center example, because that one I can certainly understand why the county would want to have some say in the signs that were there. Would the county also have requirements that certain signs were in place? I just think of, if it's truly private property and you only were required to get a permit for, the signs that you want to post, suppose, from an outsider's perspective, it was totally obvious that you needed a stop sign, for example, at a certain intersection in that private property. Would the county also be able to require signage? Or how would that How would that work?
So typically, traffic safety signage is handled separately from sign ordinances that are really controlling commercial or private speech. So requirements for this intersection, has so much volume moving through it, or this complexity, you need to have a stop sign there. That is typically handled as under the kind of traffic design manuals, and those signs are already exempt because they're part of the overall government regulation of signage related to traffic management.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there signs that might fall sort of in the middle, like a directional sign saying, such and such store, turn right, or parking garage, turn this way, kind of signage?
So under the current proposal, there is no limit to the number of directional signs you can have, because we understand that there's a vast difference between a small parcel that has one complex turn and a large business complex where you might need a plethora of directional signage to be able to safely navigate people where they might need to go. So we already in the bill kind of calibrate for that nuance.
Do those require permits?
No, they don't require permits unless they're above a certain size.
Okay.
So if they're a smaller directional sign where they're unlikely to contribute to visual clutter or cause the traffic safety concerns, you don't require to get a permit. You would need to get a permit if they're larger to evaluate, is this really necessary at this location?
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The amendment is not attempting to regulate the content of a sign. So I don't think we have any issue with violating any amendments or any rights. So just want to state that. Then the section of the code that the amendment is adding on to states that inward-facing signs within. So you would not have the scenario that you gave that would be a sign that is larger and facing an exterior property that may down the road become problematic should that use change or should someone else move in. That scenario does not exist in the section of the bill that the amendment is adding on to. It's literally giving a very similar scenario to a stadium, open air theater park, arena. It's saying, internal, inside, not outside.
So this is actually one of the areas that fell under the Reed versus Gilbert case of 2015. Is one of the areas where sign ordinances get in a lot of trouble from a constitutional perspective is in the exemptions, because what this is essentially saying is everyone has to follow the sign ordinance except for these scenarios or these people. So this exemption, what it's doing is it's the current proposal says inward-facing signs within certain facilities, stadiums, open air, theater, park, arena, similar uses that tend to be smaller contained uses. And we're basically saying, even though those are outdoor facilities, their outdoor signage is not having the same impact as all the other kinds of outdoor signage that this sign ordinance is regulating. If you add kind of the business complex or the campus environment to it, and using the term within the business complex, within a business complex is not specifying that it's inward facing. It just says that it's within the complex itself. So you could have a business complex. The sign is mounted on the exterior of a building. It's not regulated on the sign ordinance because you've exempted it from the sign ordinance. So there's no regulations covering the total size, the amount of signage that's allowed within that business complex on that building. And it wasn't an issue because there was a large swath of trees between it and the public right-of-way, and it was therefore not visible from the public right-of-way. So it meets all of the exemption standards. Those trees all get cut down for any reason. Suddenly that signage on the exterior of that building within the business complex is visible from the public right-of-way. And now we have the issue where it is not conforming with the bill, but it was legally placed there. So that's the scenario that we're talking about.
So, Madam Chair, so the inward-facing description could be problematic down the road?
I'm sorry, I don't have the
I just asked because I think what I heard you saying is that inward might be subjective down the road or might change, but the term inward is not in my amendment, it's in the bill.
Yeah, so it's inward-facing signs within the, so I guess it's really determining, for a business complex, determining what does inward-facing mean when you have a complex of several different buildings? And does it mean that at all potential angles from every potential public right-of-way that surrounds that business complex is all the signage visible or not? Those are kind of the administrative challenges or difficulties of doing this. I will say there are many sign bills that say, sign ordinances that pass constitutional scrutiny that say, if the sign is not visible from the public right-of-way, we're not going to regulate it. But that is applied across the board. So it's all signs in all land uses for all zoning districts that are not visible from the public right-of-way. What this exemption does is it says everyone is subject to the sign ordinance except for these particular inward-facing facilities that are nonetheless outdoor facilities, stadiums, open-air theaters, and this particular land use business complex campus. So what I would recommend if you were to adopt this is to extend it to beyond the business complex, to basically widen it, because the more you narrow those exemptions, the more likely they are to be challengeable as creating like a special category or special exemption that only serves one interest. And I know I'm being long-winded and I apologize, this is fairly complex, but say you have a retail use that's located in a business complex and a retail use that's not located in a business complex. If you've adopted this language as submitted, you've given kind of a commercial advantage to the retail use in the business complex. And do you have enough government interest justification for making that distinction? Or should you say, as long as both are not visible from the public right away, we're not controlling for signage? And then you have to decide if that's what you want to do, is not control for any signage if it's not visible from the public right away. So that's the kind of fine hairs that I would recommend.
Madam Chair. I still don't see the difference between the bill separating out exemptions and an amendment that adds very similar types of situations, a business complex, an industrial park, a campus. I mean, in the bill as it stands, a stadium, I know stadiums can be used for a variety of things, including the sales and purchase of items, pop-up sales, major events. Open air theaters can have a variety of uses. They don't just have to be performances. I'm just not tracking with the constitutional challenge that this might create. I think we're picking winners and losers to be opposed to the amendment.
Ms. Feeler, if I can just add on to what Ms. Bella said, the key distinction in our minds is a stadium, an open air theater or arena does not have internal traffic driving in it, whereas a business complex, an industrial park, and a campus would. So that is really the distinguishing factor.
On private property.
Ms. Pickard. Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we just got these amendments today, but I guess my thought is about, I know this bill has a lot to do with constitutionality, but we're also reforming the entire sign code. So I feel like possibly the amendment is trying to just lower some regulatory issues internally so that we can get through permitting a little faster on business complexes. Is there, whether this amendment is the right way to go, is there a thought amongst the folks at the table that there's some sort of compromise here just to create a less rigorous regulatory environment in the internal areas of business complexes?
I can tell you, yes. We would be open to having that conversation. Again, I'm not even going to try to weigh in on this particular amendment. As you noted, we received it today, so we haven't had a chance to. I personally haven't had a chance to review the pros and cons of it. But I don't want to put Lynn and Jessica in a box, but I would be fine with trying to have that conversation and have that discussion in place for the next legislative session.
Mr. Smith.
And this is for the sponsor. Is there a specific entity that this amendment will help ease, or maybe they're confused that potentially this bill could impact them? Is there a business that is impacted by this, where this amendment will ease their concerns?
I think the general business community, I mean, NAIOP is the one that brought this to my attention. I still do not see the difference, the significant difference in what is proposed in the bill and what I'm adding. I can, there is interior traffic when you go to an arena. I don't know if you've ever, or a stadium. I don't know if you've ever been to the Prince George's sports complex.
Yes.
That is an arena and a stadium, and there is an enormous amount of traffic and lanes. We don't have a complex like that in our county, but I share that to express that there are traffic scenarios within each of these. We often have traffic officials, police officers are brought on to manage traffic at large events in these places. So I struggle with the reasoning that there's not traffic happening on the exemptions that exist today. But to your question, in a general sense, yes, there is a request for this.
This is one I'm torn on, because I know what you're saying, but I'm also hearing, I think that these folks at the table have spent an awful lot of time looking at the legal aspects of this and trying to get that. And I would lean toward wanting to go with what Mr. Evelyn says, to see if we could talk about it more and find a way to fine tune it a little bit so that there'd be less of a chance, if you'd be willing to do that, to have. So just throwing out there, I think Mr. Smith.
But if no amendments are voted on today, we vote on the bill today. Correct. Would that opportunity still be there to discuss that?
I mean, if we could pass an amendment, we would still have opportunity, and we could tweak things there. So, I mean.
All right, thank you. Or go hold there.
Yeah. So. Mr. Evelyn? No? No. You were. I didn't know if you had something you wanted to add to that.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you. I just want to add that the bill expires on March 20th.
So we have one more amendment, one more meeting that we could do amendments to. Okay. All right. All right. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 4.
Ms. Pickard.
Voting first tonight. Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Nay, but would support a compromise.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye, but still would like to work on this before the next time.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Amendment number 4 has been adopted.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 5.
Amendment number 5. This amendment decreases the minimum acreage of a development to 5 acres to submit a signage program to the Office of Planning and Zoning.
Ms. Fiedler, this is your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am actually going to withdraw this amendment.
Okay. All right. So this bill number 9825. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Rodvian. Yes.
So I believe our Madam Council has the alternate amendment ready for distribution.
Madam Chair, would you like me to read it in so it can be discussed?
Yes, Madam Secretary, please read Amendment number 6.
Amendment number 6. This amendment encourages external illumination of signs to be shielded directed downward utilizing warm colored light and on timers.
Okay, Ms. Rodvian?
Thank you. So the original amendment, which hopefully you all had a chance to look at, basically would require signs with external illumination to take certain design features to make sure that we weren't adding to extraneous light that can disorient birds. After having conversations with the administration, they had concerns about how they had some enforcement concerns and concerns about how this applied to signs with exterior lighting as opposed to internally lit signs. And so I actually had also been preparing this one. This is a completely non-binding amendment, but it basically provides some instructions to property owners that want to have a sign, but also would like to minimize the light pollution that their sign puts towards the skies. And, obviously this is a tiny piece, but it does help minimize light pollution, which is an issue for birds. And one of the reasons that bird populations in our country are in pretty devastating decline. So I move the amendment and ask for my colleagues' support.
Okay. All right. Administration?
Yes, it's for the reasons that I had previously shared with Councilmember Rodvian with respects to the original amendment. Respectfully, the administration, even though we appreciate the language which says that it encourages it, but I want to make sure that this body understands the reason why we have consternation with respect to this amendment. While we agree with the intent of reducing light pollution, we believe that this amendment is the wrong vehicle, honestly. We think it has a technical flaw in the fact that it wants to regulate color via kelvins, but safety is determined by nits, which is the brightness. And internally illuminated signs, which this amendment more or less discourages, are often safer and more legible for drivers. Additionally, the other more critical reason is the unenforceability of this legislation. We physically cannot enforce it. It requires spectrometers, nighttime inspections, and specialized staff training that we currently do not have at this time. So passing a law that we respectfully and realistically can't enforce undermines the code. And then also, not to sound like our OPZ consultant, but from a legal perspective, regulating sign lighting without regulating all outdoor lighting invites First Amendment litigation. So those are the reasons why the administration, respectfully, ma'am, can't support this amendment.
Ms. Robin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With all due respect to the administration, I feel like every single one of the concerns that you have is completely erased by the fact that this would be non-binding. There is no enforcement required. So talking about the difficulty of enforcement or the difficulty of measuring the warmth of the light or the exact angle is irrelevant because there's no enforcement required. It's simply stating this is how you can do it. And I certainly understand that there are lots of other places that we can regulate light pollution. This was an opportunity that was suggested by a large constituent group, and I think is a valid concern that for an issue that we need to provide more attention to. But the concerns about enforceability are just not relevant when you're providing simply an example of how something could be done should someone want to make their sign safe for birds flying at night, which we have a lot of.
No, and if the administration may quickly respond, yes, I understand that the language says to the extent practicable, but and it more or less is just saying, hey, we should do this. I mean, it's resolution language in many ways in an amendment to a bill, and the reality is we would rather, the administration as well as Office of Plan and Zoning we'd rather have the type of language in this legislation or in the code that would be enforceable and still pushes that policy rationale forward. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the staff's already started research on a holistic, legally defensible, enforceable outdoor lighting code language that would work. So again, that's why we respectfully and we appreciate Councilman Maradian that the attempt to take away some of the enforceability concerns, but as it's still currently written, we respectfully can't support it.
Ms. Ledbetter, you had your light on. You good?
I would like to ask. Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't want
I'm
to
sorry.
into the
I
microphone.
interrupt you in the member of.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay. Ms. Kenny, this question is for you, and I hate to put you on the spot, but are there other examples in our code where we have encouragement, for lack of a better, or a suggestion versus something that is, because I can appreciate what Mr. Evelyn is concerned about. I'm thinking of it from a constituent services angle. I can see an email coming in, someone thinks that because they've read this section in the code that their neighbor or the business down the street, whomever it is, has actually done a violation, and now you're in a conversation about, well, that actually isn't a violation, it was an encouragement, not a requirement. Is there a precedent for this somewhere else in the code, or have we dealt with it before?
Kelly County Supervising County Attorney. I was trying to think of somewhere in the code that might have language like that. I can't think of anything offhand. It doesn't mean that it's not there. Somebody mentioned resolutions. Of course, there are certain resolutions that encourage things but don't require things. I can't think of any specific example in the code that encourages something, but I think there probably is. I can't say for sure.
Thank you. Madam Chair, my follow-up? Or it's not really a follow-up, it's an additional. And I do appreciate actually where the sponsor is coming from this. Yeah, in my previous residences, we've lived in coastal areas where folks are encouraged to turn off their lights at night for sea turtles and for a variety of migration reasons for birds. So I definitely do appreciate it, which was the appreciation is where this question is coming from. Is there a way that there could be, if there was a manual that's produced about signs or something along those lines, where there could be a section on tips for, I don't know, and maybe I'm going too far, just trying to find a way to respect my colleagues' environmental, instincts and her desire to protect nature while also not putting an encouragement in code.
I fully and truly appreciate that as someone who has spent a lot of time in the environmental and climate justice arena. It's also very near and dear to my heart. I would kick it over to Lynn Miller so that she can hopefully address some of those concerns by talking about some of the ways that we plan on researching this, or have already started researching this for future introduction.
Lynn Miller, I would say I share Councilwoman Ledbetter's concern that by putting this language in the code, even if it does say businesses are encouraged, which, as Mr. Evelyn pointed out, is really not enforceable language, my concern is that this would set up an expectation on the part of the public when we get complaints about lighting related to signage, that we would be able to enforce this. And for the language, it really doesn't give us enforcement authority. And also, as Mr. Evelyn pointed out, technically at this time, we are just not set up to enforce lighting complaints at this level. We don't have the technical expertise, we don't have the equipment, we don't have the funding for the equipment. So It's the type of thing that I believe we need to prepare in advance if we want to take regulation of outdoor lighting, all outdoor lighting, not just signage lighting, to the next level. I think it's going to take some careful planning and consideration and a legislative process so that we can do it the right way and that we can make sure that we're set up to enforce and apply the code.
Mr. Smith.
I was actually going to, thank you, Madam Chair, reinforce what Ms. Ledbetter said in reference to, in the past, we have done legislation where we've adjusted the code book. However, we did create a manual where best practices or TTP, well, not TTP is a military term, but best practices are used to sort of, when it comes to designing or lighting sort of exterior buildings in the evening. As others have mentioned, I'm not quite sure how we would, because when I first read this, I was thinking, how do we measure 3,000 Kelvin? And but I think you all answered that when you said you don't have the actual equipment to regulate that or to view it. And so, but my recommendation probably would be a manual at some point if it evolves on best practices for exterior lighting, at least at this stage.
Mr. Volkey.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to support this one. I like it. I mean, look, it's not binding, but neither was the PLA legislation that we voted on 2 weeks ago that the admin was all right with, right? That said, we're encouraging PLAs for anything that's over this threshold, but it was non-binding. The admin had no problem with that, didn't mind putting that in the code, didn't mind putting a flag out in the ground, pun intended, and kind of saying, hey, here we're going to go. But then with this one, it's like, well, we can't do that. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I did the light pollution bill a couple years ago that was on residential property. I think this is a good way to do this. I think Ms. Rodvian is trying to do it in a way where it's not going to box anybody in, but it's also giving some guidance. And if we can tweak it again more later, well, don't we always say we can bring another bill for that? So there you go. So I'm going to support it because I think it makes sense.
Ms. Rodvian, I think pigs are flying across the room.
Thank you, Mr. Volkey. Yeah, I just, well, first off, thank you for offering your support. And we do occasionally agree. And I know that that probably one of the aspects of this that you appreciate is that it is a recommendation. It is not a government, demanding that it must be done a certain way. I think one of the, the suggestion of a resolution came up, and I think unfortunately for the reality is resolutions just don't have staying power. They might make a splash for a certain amount of time if they even make it into the newspaper, but something that's in code is something that has staying power and will continually be, part of this conversation. I also think it's very easy, should there be confusion and someone calling and trying to make a complaint based on this, to just read them the language to say, to the extent practicable, businesses are encouraged. And to me, that language is pretty clear that this is not a mandate, and that if someone thinks it is and tries to base a complaint, it's very easy to respond and say, actually, no, this is non-binding language. This is just showing folks how to do it if they want to. So I would ask my colleagues to support Mr. Volkey's arguments. As well as this, again, this is, I definitely appreciate that the administration, would take a broader approach and look at this. But, we have the sign bill right in front of us, and this is an opportunity to put something meaningful in there, even if it doesn't address everything. Is it better to just say, well, we're not going to do anything, or to take a small step and say, hey, this is in our code, it's non-binding language. Maybe further down the road, if we want to, be more bold and take a bigger step, hey, here's something we can look to. So with that, I'll leave it.
Ms. Pickard.
I appreciate this conversation to a certain extent. The thing about encouraging, this is a very detailed amendment, whereas I am more inclined to agree with the administration that you're going to have a constituent complaint nightmare on our hands because this is very specific. And you're going to have friends and neighbors out there that, even though there are specific words here, this isn't just we would the county encourages business owners to protect migratory birds with their lighting signs. This is very specific to the, I don't think this is what we want in our code right now, but I appreciate the discussion.
I hope that we do continue this conversation about the outdoor, about the nighttime lighting. I have an issue right now that I'm working with a constituent who's an astronomer and is very bothered by the street lights because he can't see things, and how can we shield that? And I think we have a bigger issue here about nighttime light pollution and how we can do that. And I do think that maybe we can put some enforcement when we get to that part of it. But so any further discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would just argue that in order to provide guidance on how to go about doing it, you need to be specific. So this is language that came from an organization, I can't remember the exact name, but it's basically like Dark Skies. And it specifically advocates for bird safe lighting. And this is, without the specifics, we're not telling the public that might not have any idea, or, property owner that might actually care a lot about, migratory birds and making sure that we're not interfering with their flight patterns and whatnot, but have no idea that the light was an issue, have no idea if they wanted to, kind of do the right thing, so to speak, how to do it. And this gives them gives them instructions how to do it. But it's, again, I think, with respect to the concerns about citizen complaints. First, I think that the number of complaints about lighting from signs, I can't speak from experience, but I would guess on the grand scale of things is relatively small. Prove me wrong. I mean, I could be wrong, but at the same time, I also think it's very easy to say, I'm sorry, that's not a complaint that we can address because we don't, there's nothing enforceable in the code on that point. So I just, the idea of being specific is to make sure that someone actually understands how to do it. So it's a tiny step. This was an opportunity for a step. I was actually really appreciative of GAN for pointing out that, hey, there's an opportunity here. It's an opportunity that we can take. I don't see any reason why we can't. The code is in general about enforceability, but there's no reason that we can't use it to communicate as well. We communicate our values through the legislation we pass, and here, even if we're not mandating it, I think we're still communicating, hey, this is a value. If it's something of value that you have too, here's how to support that value.
Mr. Smith.
I'll be brief. I think if the sponsor, I totally understand where in the protection of birds and migrant birds and that light pollution comes into effect. If the sponsor would like to have a overarching sort of policy that governs lighting throughout the entire county to address some of the sort of bird routes and things like that. I'm not an expert at that, but it just seems more fitting if it was a holistic instead of this one piece. I'm not against addressing the issues that impact birds. I just want to make sure we're doing something that's sustainable in how we codify our code. And so that's my only sort of comment towards it. So, thank you.
Ms. Ravian.
Thank you. I would actually love that as well, but I think that level of, that level of legislation would actually be a pretty significant undertaking. And, considering that it is, what month is it now? We're in February. We're in February, and the clock is ticking on this term. I just don't, and I know the administration has limited bandwidth. I have limited bandwidth on doing something that would be a comprehensive. This could be a message to the next council to take this, and here is a small first step. I understand the idea of wanting to have something comprehensive. If that's what this were before me right here, I would love to support that and figure out a way to work through that. But I can only imagine that if I were to ask the folks at the table what kind of level of involvement that would take, like I know that just revising our sign code was a massive undertaking. I can only imagine what kind of undertaking would be to try and revise our lighting regulation. To me, that just, my immediate instinct is that would be a massive undertaking. Is that fair to say?
It would definitely take some work. I don't know that it would take the level that the signage code did, but it definitely would be a technical exercise, as Mr. Evelyn mentioned. We have already done a fair amount of research on the topic to get started on that. I also wanted to just speak to Ms. Rodvian or Ms. Leb, I believe it was Ms. Rodvian's question a minute ago about the volume of complaints we get about signage. It's certainly not our most frequent complaint, but we are starting to get more and more complaints related to signage. And the concern in my mind is less the volume, it's the difficulty with bringing them to resolution, because the way the outdoor lighting sections of the code are written now, as you all know, it's fairly subjective language that doesn't give us a lot of teeth to work with. And so these cases tend to drag on for a long time, and it's very hard for us to bring them to any kind of resolution, which is another case to be made for addressing outdoor signing more holistically in the code. My fear is actually this amendment might actually make our situation worse, because again, it gives a complainant a perception that we would be able to regulate lighting related to signs to this level, and we really wouldn't be. Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 6.
Ms. Pickard?
Nay.
Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Nay.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Nay.
Mr. Smith?
Nay.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
3 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. Amendment number 6 has been defeated.
All right, where are we? Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 10125 as amended.
Bill number 10125, an ordinance concerning general provisions, public works, landlord-tenant eviction.
This is my bill. I have one amendment tonight, just that changes the effective date, so we will address that when we get to it. Mr. Trumbauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer for the administration. We have Kelly Kenny from the law office, and you're from ACDS. Sorry. I'm filling in today. No.
Nori Suter.
That's exactly right.
Miss ACDS.
Yes. Anyway, we support the bill. We commend the sponsor on the work she put into it, and we look forward to its passage.
All right. Is there any discussion? So we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 10125 as amended. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on Bill number 10125? Mr. Higgins, come on up.
Maryland. I've sat in the chambers and listened to this bill be debated several meetings, and having had to go through the process of dealing with a tenant, it's not all about the landlord. There's a tenant and a landlord. There's a relationship, and there's people involved. And I would ask that this bill be supported. I think a lot of thought's gone into it. I think it looks out for all parties involved, and far be it for me to agree with something that the administration said, but in this case, I am asking the council's support on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. So, all right, seeing no further movement, the public hearing on Bill number 10125 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 10125 as amended.
Bill number 10125, an ordinance concerning general provisions, public works, landlord-tenant eviction.
Okay. Any further discussion before we move forward with the amendment? Okay, there is one amendment. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 3.
Amendment number 3. This amendment makes technical corrections and changes the effective date to July 1, 2026.
Okay, and that is exactly what it does. We, in consultation with the circuit court, because new forms for eviction will have to be put in, they have to put new forms out for public comment, and so we needed a little more time for the effective date to come to make sure that we comply with all of those. So this moves the effective date to July 1st. Administration? Yep.
Chris Tromauer, administration supports.
Thank you. All right, may I have a motion to, I make a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 3.
Ms. Pickard? Aye. Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Radvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
We have 7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 3 has been adopted.
Okay.
Oh, and I would just like to say that for the previous bill, Bill number 9825 as amended will come back on March 2nd.
Oh,
because
did I not say that? I'm
I
sorry.
don't think so.
I skipped that part.
Sorry.
Bill number
Thank you.
9825 will be heard on March 2nd, 2026. And Bill number 10125, as amended, will be heard on March 2nd, 2026 as well. All right. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of Bill number 126 and Bill number 226.
Bill number 126, an ordinance concerning general development plan, Region 6 plan. Bill number 226, an ordinance concerning comprehensive zoning, Region 6.
Okay. Do any council members object to a joint public hearing on Bill number 126 and 226, which are both related to Region 6? Seeing no objection, we will do that. Is there any discussion before we begin? Okay. We will, oh wait, did I have administration? Do you have anything you want to say before we move to public hearing?
Jansen Eve on behalf of the county administration. I just wanted to make sure I introduce my good friends. Oh, it's all on my phone, and of course I didn't have it up. Introduce my good friend sitting next to me. Obviously, the subject matter expert sitting beside me, Christina Pompa, Deputy Director of Office of Plan and Zoning, Cindy Carrier, Patrick Hughes, and the world-renowned Kelly Kenny.
Okay. All right, if you don't have anything to say, we're going to open the joint public hearing on Bill number 126 and Bill number 226. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair, we received 12 pieces for Bill number 126 and 17 pieces for Bill number 226, which were shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
Okay, we will now call on individuals who signed up ahead of the meeting. When I call your name, please come up to the table and have a seat. When it is your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit as others are signed up to speak. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts as early as tomorrow using our online testimony tool. So we have Mary Beth Love, Trish Lilac, Jasmine Wilding, Elizabeth Sroka, Donald Weller, and Nita Satina. You can go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Mary Beth Love. I resided at 881 Cecil Avenue in Millersville since 1986. I oppose the consideration for upzoning to higher density commercial use for parcel CZ R6 MRV 003B, which resides at 679 Maryland Route 3 North. I support Ms. Rodvian's amendment to restore the RLD zoning at this location and commend Ms. Rodvian for her support and attention to Region 6 Plan 2040 goals. The continued approved commercial development of this multi-regional properties adjacent to Route 3 have resulted in horrendous traffic flow, backups, and dangerous conditions for our community safety and roads. The State Highway Administration rated Route 3 Millersville Road intersection as a grade F, failed, and as the most dangerous intersection in that corridor. The Region 6 community feedback for the Region 6 development plan identified this intersection as a major public safety concern. Any additional high-density development will escalate the existing public safety and quality of life degradation for community residents as well as area commuters. Cecil Avenue and Millersville Road has become a traffic bypass for drivers to evade backups, and they well exceed the posted 30 and 35 mile-an-hour speed limits. Additional traffic safety issues are compounded by the pedestrian crossing of the South Shore Trail across Cecil Avenue South, and there is no traffic enforcement in this area. Millersville Road serves as a historic pathway and gateway to the Anne Arundel County Greenway along Generals Highway and Veterans Highway. The Anne Arundel County Plan 2040 has a goal to retain the rural character of Region 6. Please vote to support Ms. Rodvian's amendments and help curb the unmanaged sprawl into rural communities in Region 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Love. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Trish Lilick, and I live at 70 Linda Lane in Millersville. I support and thank Ms. Rodvine for the amendment to restore the RLD zoning at 679 Maryland Route 3 North, and we request that you support her amendment. I'm addressing the degradation of the rural legacy of our area through the continued upzoning, such as that with this RLD parcel. This action effectively chips away at the edges of our region, and development pressure intrudes on adjacent neighborhoods and communities, impacting safety, quality of life, and property value. It undermines the intended low impact of the planned local service hub in the South Shore Trail crossing, loses a recreational and ag education opportunity, and threatens the overall Region 6 rural character by upzoning of developer-acquired properties. While proponents may characterize the commercial impact of upzoning as minimal, such change creates permanent avenues for more intensive and intrusive land use. The proposed upzoning to C2 also directly conflicts with the Region 6 plan on page 24, which envisions lower intensity development for this trail adjacent hub. The plan specifically prioritizes resident needs and trail users while requiring careful consideration of the impact. However, C2 introduces a risk of high-intensity commercial use that is absolutely fundamentally incompatible with the area's current reliance on private wells and septic. Creating a high-density commercial hub here contradicts the county's ability to maintain the rural character of the Millersville Road and 175 corridor. However, RLD zoning of this property keeps with the critical green path set up by the Green Infrastructure Plan and the intended commitment to community partners. Based on the concerns raised, chipping away of the Region 6 represents a shift from planned sustainable growth to a chaotic, developer-driven environment. To residents on the edge of this region, it manifests itself as an erosion of quality of life.
Thank you, Ms. Lillard. Yes, sir.
I'm Don Weller from Old Millersville. Please pass Amendment 1 to Bill 126 and Amendment 1 to 226. They preserve RLD zoning and rural land use for 679 Route 3 North, and they fix a misguided move to add C2 land at the Route 3 Millersville Road intersection. These amendments respect the Region 6 process in which public opposition to commercial use was overwhelming, and the SAC recommended keeping RLD. They respect Plan 2040, both the adopted rural land use and the commitments to protect Jabez Branch and the region's rural character. OPZ opposed commercial use here during a 2011 rezoning, Plan 2040 development, and a 2021 variance hearing, but they now offer specious reasons for flip-flopping to C2 upzoning. They say upzoning supports Plan 2040's goal of economic growth and a diverse tax base, but a failing intersection in a protected watershed is the wrong place to do this. They cite Plan 2040's goal to foster small hubs in appropriate places that traditionally provided commercial and community services. In fact, highway sprawl has replaced traditional services here, and more commercial land is inappropriate due to impacts on traffic safety in Jabez Branch. OPZ claims upzoning will improve development design and protect Jabez and cultural resources. Nonsense. Any C2 use could be built without the enhanced stormwater management needed for Jabez, and the site's historic house was demolished last month. They say upzoning supports a multimodal hub with amenities for trail users, but once zoned C2, the county has no control to enforce this vision. There are no good reasons for C2 upzoning here. It would be a gift to the developer at the expense of the community, the environment, and Plan 2040. Please pass the amendments to preserve RLD zoning and rural land use of this parcel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weller. Yes, ma'am.
Jasmine Wilding, 1162 Bluebird Lane, Generals Highway Council Civic Association. Applaud to the Old Mill group for, the Old Millersville neighborhood group for getting Amendment 1 through, and Ms. Rodvian for proposing it. We support Amendment 1 to the plan and Amendment 1 to the zoning. That said, Ms. Rodvian has also introduced 4 detrimental and against Generals Highway, against the SAC, and against planning and zoning recommendations, upzoning to C4 and C3, 4 parcels, which are her proposed amendments 2, 3, 4, and 5. The reasons for these I've heard are it isn't aligned with what's currently happening on the properties, and there's a new fire station. 3 out of 4 of these are currently residential zoning. 2 out of 4 of them are completely wooded properties. None of them touch anything except C1 or residential, except for one that touches an automotive facility. The description of C4 in county zoning is auto-oriented service, highway, commercial. The proposed amendments that Ms. Rodvian have presented are in conflict with the General Development Region Plan, which calls for small business and service nodes. I also referenced the South Shore Trail and the desire for development to be in line with that. Some examples of things that are allowed in C4 zoning but not in C1 are pawn shops, adult bookstores, adult movie theaters, amusement parks, arcade, a host of truck repair, auto truck rental, a lot of storage, bulk storage, carpet cleaning, conference centers, department stores. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilding. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Nita Satina. I am a longtime resident of Anne Arundel County, and I am here on behalf of the Center for Ecosystem Recovery, a nonprofit dedicated to restoring the Jabez Branch and Severn Run at the headwaters of the Severn River. I have submitted written comments, but I'm here to reinforce our support and commend the Office of Planning and Zoning for including strong natural environment strategies in the Region 6 plan, which commit the county to conservation planning and development of an overlay zone for the Jabez Branch, a portion of which is located within Region 6 in Millersville. The county has recognized the need to protect the Jabez Branch as its most sensitive watershed for over 20 years due to underground springs that feed cold water to these streams. These cold waters once supported native wild brook trout virtually in our backyards, the last brook trout in the entire coastal plain of Maryland, until they were extirpated by 2020 from land use changes over a 30-year period. Which is why I also bring to your attention Land Zone C2 in the Region 6 plan situated at the terminus of the South Shore Trail on Millersville Road. This land includes the South Fork of the Jabez Branch. Last year, the county sought to acquire this land for a bus depot. We are advocating that the county again seek to acquire the land, but for conservation of Jabez Branch and public open space for the trail. The last brook trout was caught in the Jabez Branch in 2017. That was not that long ago. With your support for sound land use planning and conservation, we believe we can restore the Jabez Branch and restock brook trout in the streams once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Satina. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Elizabeth Soroka, and I reside at 1022 Arundel Station Road, Millersville, Maryland. I'm here tonight to support and thank Ms. Rodvian for the amendment to restore RLD zoning at 679 Maryland, Route 3 North Lane. The Office of Planning and Zoning has envisioned this intersection as a trail-oriented development serving the local community and trail users, a multimodal hub. The idea of a multimodal hub sounds great, but there is no way OPZ can enforce this vision. It is merely a vision and not regulatory. Once upzoned, any C2 permitted development is possible. The parcel owner has already pushed a strip mall, which is highly opposed by local communities. Much of this intersection is already committed to highway user, gas stations, car repair, not residents, pedestrians, or cyclists. In fact, I would say most local residents avoid this intersection because of the dangers. So it is highly unlikely that C2 zoning will service the local community or the South Shore Trail. No land should be upzoned to support a hypothetical vision. Coupled with the fact that the Department of Recreation and Parks has not revealed how the South Shore Trail will cross Route 3, I propose the county purchase the 2 parcels and dedicate them to the South Shore Trail. This would facilitate the Route 3 trail crossing, fulfill a vision of multimodal transportation, protect the Jebez Stream, and help maintain agriculture use east and south, avoid commercial development on well and septic, maintain the support, the historic and cultural nature of the area, and contribute to the green canopy. It will also add to a great recreation area that is already being established at Millersville Park and the Forney property. This is a gateway to a greater historic area, and I ask you to please help to preserve this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stroka. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak on bills number 126 and or 226? So come up this time. Please state your name and address for the record, and again, you have 2 minutes.
My name is Deborah Weller, and I'm representing the Old Millersville Neighborhood Association. We support and thank Ms. Rodvian's amendment to restore RLD zoning to parcel 357 and ask you also to support it. The conversion from RLD to C2 presents a net negative fiscal, environmental, and public safety outcome for the county, contradicting the goals of Plan 2040. Continued upzoning, such as this one, threaten to nullify the investment of over $9 million to restore the Jazz branch. It is physically irresponsible for environmental rehabilitation while improving intensive development that destroys it. Additional development at this intersection will exacerbate current traffic congestion, jeopardize public safety, and escalate long-term maintenance and emergency services costs to the county, increasing taxpayers' burden. Upzoning to allow new commercial development while existing space is not fully utilized is inefficient use of the land and does not improve the overall tax base. This rezoning violates the principles of Plan 2040's goal, HE2, because it increases environmental risk and infrastructure liability without a corresponding increase in net jobs or tax revenue. The development will jeopardize our area's remaining agricultural land. Collateral fiscal impacts include undermining developing this site as a low-impact local service trail and node, as stated in Region 6 plan, impact the South Shore Trail crossing, and threaten the overall Region 6 rural character. Commercial development here prioritizes profit over community safety, traffic flow, and safety on Route 3 and local roads. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weller. Mr. Hager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Phil Hager, Hager Land Use. I want to thank Councilwoman Rodvian and OPZ for the great conversations that we've had and the dialogue that we've shared on various properties in the General's Highway Corridor. I also want to thank the SAC for the time that they put into the development of this region plan, and also to the Planning Advisory Board that reviewed all of those recommendations and unanimously recommended C4 on 1222 and 1240 General's Highway, and C3 on 1341 Sunrise Beach Road, and C3 on 1241 General's Highway. Contrary to previous testimony, none of these properties involves any residential uses. One of the stated purposes of these comprehensive plans are to address existing nonconformities and to address equity and fairness. The amendments that are proposed for introduction this evening accomplish all of these purposes. Again, I want to reiterate my appreciation to the Councilwoman for working towards a positive outcome for these properties and for the residents in this portion of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hager. Yes, ma'am.
Tompkins with H.A. Tompkins Land Consulting, and I simply want to echo Mr. Hager's comments and also thank Councilwoman Rodvian. I specifically am here for the 1241 General's Highway.
Thank you, Ms. Tompkins. The joint public hearing on bills number 126 and 226 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of bills number 126 and 226.
Bill number 126, an ordinance concerning General Development Plan, Region 6 Plan, and Bill number 226, an ordinance concerning Comprehensive Zoning, Region 6.
Okay. Any further discussion before we move forward with amendments? Okay, there will be some back and forth between these bills in order to keep amendments about the same properties together. There are 2 amendments to Bill number 126 and 5 amendments to Bill number 226. Madam Secretary, for the upcoming amendments requiring signs for at least 10 days before this legislative session, were signs posted on the subject property and was notice of the proposed change of zoning posted to the County Council website?
Notice that the changes were posted to the website, but no signs were needed for the amendments coming forward tonight.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 1 to Bill number 126.
Bill number 1 to Bill number 126. This amendment changes the planned land use for the property known as Parcel 357 on Tax Map 30, located 679 Maryland Route 3 North Lane, Gambrels, from commercial to rural.
Ms. Rodvian, this is your amendment.
Thank you. So this amendment and its partner amendment from Bill 2-26 basically aims to keep the existing zoning. So as you know, just as a refresher, there's the existing zoning, there's the zoning that's proposed in the bills, and then the zoning that will be what is passed in the final bill. So the proposed zoning is different from the existing zoning, and this amendment aims to restore the existing zoning in the bill for the proposed zoning, if that makes sense. My colleagues probably remember that this is the same parcel that we discussed when the school system was looking for its location to create a central bus lot in the county. And I expressed many concerns at that time about the impact, the environmental impact that putting a significant amount of impervious surface in that area would cause to the Jabez. Now, this is a different fork of the Jabez from the one that has the restoration, but the long-term goal will be to restore the entire Jabez. And this is a major fork. The South Fork is not insignificant. It flows deeply into the rest of the Jabez, which feeds into the Severn River. And the part that has been rehabilitated has, if you haven't had the opportunity to see it, I can probably connect you with some folks that would show you, but the remarkable return of wildlife to that restoration, that section of restored stream is amazing. As you all probably recall, I'm a huge fan of beavers, and their beavers have returned. I am becoming a fan of brook trout, and I would like to see the brook trout return too, because you know, ecosystems are complete when all of their inhabitants are present. So for that, I ask my colleagues' support on amendment number 1, and happy to answer any question. I move the amendment.
Any discussion? Evelyn?
Just going to kick this over to Christina Pompa and team.
I'm going to kick it to Patrick Hughes.
Just keep going, keep going.
Patrick Hughes, Office of Planning and Zoning. This was an early owner request in our process where they requested upzoning to C3 for both this parcel, which is just under an acre, and then the adjacent 7-acre parcel. OPZ and PAB supported retaining the existing C2 zoning on the larger parcel, and we had recommended, OPZ had recommended rezoning the smaller RLD parcel to C2 for consistency across the two properties that are under the same ownership, and to eliminate the need for a separate access from Maryland 3 for that smaller parcel. The SAC supported maintaining the existing RLD zoning on the smaller parcel, There was a lot of feedback during the process that supported no increase in zoning on the site, citing a lot of the concerns that you heard here tonight. So for that reason, we offer no objection to maintaining the RLD zoning on this property.
So any further discussion? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 1 to bill number 126.
Ms. Pickard? Aye. Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Radvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith? And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 to bill number 126 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 1 to bill number 226.
Amendment number 1 to Bill 226. This amendment changes the zoning of the property known as Parcel 357 on Tax Map 30, located at 679 Maryland Route 3 North Lane, Gambrels, from C2 Commercial Office to RLD Residential Low Density.
Ms. Ravian?
Thank you. I apologize. Maybe I have a question for Office of Planning and Zoning since they're right there. Do we not need to vote also on? I'm sorry. Are we? I think I might be looking at the wrong page. What amendment did you just call?
We are on amendment number 1 to bill number 226. This is the corresponding zoning amendment.
Thank you. I think I was looking at the wrong page.
I think the amendments in the package are ordered with the 2 zoning together, and then
They are.
There's
I didn't see that there
They're
was
out
a
of
second
order.
page. I went to this page and was
Yeah.
thinking it was missing, but it was right there behind. So my apologies.
No problem.
This is the corresponding zoning amendment that would
Correct.
keep the RLD.
Correct.
Administration, any comment? Okay.
Nothing additional.
Any discussion?
Motion to adopt.
Oh, yes.
Second.
Motion to adopt. Okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 1 to bill number 226.
Ms. Pickard? Aye. Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Radvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 to bill number 226 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 2 to bill number 226.
Amendment number 2 to bill number 226. This amendment changes the zoning of the property known as parcel 183 on tax map 38, located at 1222 Generals Highway, Crownsville, from C1 local commercial to C4 highway commercial.
Ms. Rabian?
Thank you. So this amendment is a little trickier, it basically, there is currently a use on the property, and that it is a non-conforming use. So this amendment would bring the zoning in line with, actually the zoning and the land use in line with the current use of the property, which is a general contractor. Did I get all that right? I'm always looking to you guys for help. So with that, just the idea of there is no, at least there's no immediate plan for a change in the use. This would simply bring the zoning and the land use into conformity with the current use. And I move the amendment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
The administration has no objection to this amendment.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Anyone? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on
Madam
amendment.
Chair?
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to mention okay, there's, as my colleagues know, we are likely to have a bill before us that would address Article 18. And one of the things that made this tricky is that it is possible, but obviously not guaranteed, that Article 18 would allow this property to continue its existing use on a slightly lower, on a C3 zoning. But because that, I just wanted to make it clear that that's why I'm asking for C4 instead of C3, which is the highest use. And really, this is a message to the community too, that if we had that possibility, but unfortunately the timing is such that Article 18 hasn't been even introduced, much less passed, and much less passed in its form that would allow a C3 zoning to bring the current use into conformity, which is why I'm requesting C4, which is the most intensive use here. And that's really also for the folks in the community to understand. This is for the existing property. So I wanted to give that piece of context to my colleagues as well.
Okay. Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 2 to bill number 226.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Radvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 2 to bill number 226 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 3 to bill number 226.
Amendment number 3 to bill number 226. This amendment changes the zoning of the property known as parcels 184, 246, and 293 on tax map 38 located at 1240 Generals Highway, no number Generals Highway, and no number Generals Highway Crownsville respectively from C1 local commercial to C4 highway commercial.
Ms. Rabia.
So these parcels are adjacent to the parcel we just discussed, and they're all under the same ownership and also under that same non-conforming use. And so this would bring them into conformance with the code. And I move the amendment.
Have a second? Mr. Volkey.
Is this the gas station? Is that what this is?
It's just to the south of the gas station.
Okay.
It's adjacent.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the use currently on the property that's non-conforming?
It's a general contractor.
And so they need C4 so that they can do outdoor storage?
Correct. And my understanding of the use is they're fairly high-end general contractor. They don't like to do outside storage, but sometimes timing on delivery forces them to, and so they want to be able to have it if they need it.
Administration.
Similar to the last one, we don't oppose.
You oppose?
No, we do not.
Oh, I was like, sorry, I missed that part. Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 3 to bill number 226.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Radvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 3 to bill number 226 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 2 to bill number 126.
Amendment number 2 to bill number 126. This amendment changes the planned land use for the property known as parcel 51 on tax map 38 located at 1241 Generals Highway, Crownsville, from rural to commercial.
Ms. Rabia.
Thank you. So this is a very similar situation where the use is already, it's a non-conforming use, and this amendment would bring the land use into and ultimately the zoning in conformance with the existing use. And I move the amendment.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Administration?
Administration doesn't oppose this, but I'm going to kick it over to Patrick so he can make some additional comments.
Okay.
So the amendment you all are voting on now is for a planned land use change to commercial, and the companion zoning change. This was an early request to change from RLD to C3 in order to accommodate a long-standing and respected commercial use on this property. OPZ and SAC both supported maintaining the existing RLD zoning on the property, noting that existing use, it is actually permitted as a conditional use, though, under the existing zoning. So while it is possible, as you had said, Ms. Rodvian, that C1 could work if that Article 18 bill were introduced and adopted. The timing is just a little late for this process. And so the PAB had supported the C3 request, and therefore we don't oppose this amendment, either the planned land use change or the zoning change.
All right. Any further discussion?
You want to go? Oh.
Mr. Volkey?
I'll just say this, right? Having gone through this for our region now, and now being a few years later and seeing what happens, I can tell you at least 2 instances where people told me about how they were going to keep using their property. They were going to do it exactly the way they've always done it. They've been there for 30 years. And as soon as this got done, they turned around and did something different, right? And that's my concern with this, is like when we do this, I'm not saying, again, like Mr. Smith and like all of you have done, I want to do councilman a courtesy to, it's your district, right? I know you've done the legwork on this. I know you are the one who's ultimately responsible to your constituents for it. But I'm just putting that out there as like a concern that I always have with this and this type of zoning, especially in this area where you got so much RLD around it, and then like light, you know, the C1, and if they can already do it in the RLD as a conditional use, that's my concern, right? It's just, I've seen it now play out, and I'm dealing with that and seeing those issues come up and going, well, everybody tells you whatever they need to tell you to get us to do what we do, and then all of a sudden, sometimes they change their mind.
Mr. Smith.
I was going to simply ask the sponsor, you reached out, obviously, to the citizens around that parcel, and you've had communications with them, and they're aware. Was this?
Yes, they've reached out to me. I've heard lots. And so this really is a tricky, I mean, again, if we were in a position where Article 18 were before us, it is very possible that this would not be needed, or something more modest could accommodate. But given that we don't have, we don't know the outcome of Article 18, this is where we're at in terms of trying to bring, trying to match the pieces together. So I'll let OPZ comment further.
That's correct, Ms. Rodvian. The use on this property would fall under the use in our zoning code of greenhouses and garden centers. The proposal in Article 18, which hasn't been introduced yet, but I've reviewed, is that those would be permitted in C1. And if you think about it, if you own a home and you have landscaping, you drive down to the local garden center every Saturday in the good months to go get your flowers and your seeds. And it is something that I think is appropriate in a local commercial zoning district. So I'm hoping that that change is going to come through in Article 18 when that bill gets to you. Timing is just off a little bit.
Mr. Smith. As I was, I just trust, obviously, you represent your district just as Mr. Volke mentioned. So, I mean, I'm certainly not going to stand in the way today. I believe in that. That's why you were elected to represent that area. So, as long as you've done that, you satisfy my requirement.
I'm going to be honest. This is tricky because, I think what Mr. Volke describes, we're trusting our property owners to be truthful about their plans, but changing the zoning does open doors that would otherwise not be open under a less intense zoning choice. Or land use choice and zoning choice. I will talk about them as they're kind of this, not exactly the same, but they're matching. So this is tricky. If we had been in a position where Article 18 were before us and it were passed, this might not be needed, but we're not there. And so to accommodate the current use, this is the path forward. So I don't know what, I don't know what to say to my colleagues because, I honestly, I very much understand the concerns of the neighbors. It's exactly what you expressed, Mr. Volke. But we don't have a clear, we don't have the outcome of Article 18 yet. We have, the bill isn't even finalized and introduced yet. So I don't, there may be another possible path to get there, but we just don't know what that is. So, I mean, I would certainly entertain discussions with my colleagues to get the same outcome. That would kind of, in a way, it would be great to be able to satisfy both the residents and the property owners here. But that path does not currently exist, if that makes sense. We could make it exist, but that we don't know that yet. So this is the sort of the safe path on behalf of the property owner. So we're stuck. I mean, we're not in a great, I mean, this isn't, I'm not jumping up and down about doing this. I'd rather just have a possibility that would bring them into conformance without also opening the door to much heavier, more intense use.
Ms. Pickard.
I just want to make sure that I understand. This is currently zoned RLD, but potentially with the Article 18, what you're saying is you might not have needed to go all the way to C3, but it still would need to be some sort of commercial zoning to get it out of non-conforming use.
Correct. But is it not? Is it non-conforming, or is it a conditional use in RLD?
No, it is not a non-conforming use. This
Okay,
it is a permitted use conditionally in the current RLD zoning. I think that there is concern on the owner's part about it potentially expanding and wanting to not be a conditional use, and so that's.
And the owner has not owned this that long, and he feels that he's going to have to put investment in. And when you're doing upgrades, I mean, we hear that a lot, that when you're doing upgrades, there can be issues with your permitting. And he's trying to avoid that by getting himself into the permitted use category. And Article 18 is, I mean, what's going to be proposed to you does allow greenhouses and garden centers in C1, which would be your lowest category of commercial. It's essentially neighborhood commercial.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Yes.
There is some C4 in the vicinity here as well. Okay. I'm glad this is your district, Ms. Rodvian. Thank you, everyone.
This was one of the least fun, sort of least fun parcels to figure out how to go forward. So this was, in a perfect world, we would basically accommodate this when we make the changes in Article 18.
Yeah.
But obviously, I have no way of knowing whether that is actually something that could happen, without having that legislation before us, without having sort of the commitment from my colleagues. We're in a tough spot.
Yeah.
So,
Madam Chair.
Yes.
And I appreciate it isn't just about permitting it to be a permitted use. It's also about, if they're looking to invest and maintain their property, it's also about being able to obtain financing for that.
Mr. Volkey.
Thank you. Yeah, I get that, and I had a lot of those concerns in my district, as you all may remember from a couple years ago. And I did things, Ms. Rodvian, you'll remember, much to the chagrin of Office of Planning and Zoning, where I split zoned certain properties, which they despise, but I did it as a way to try to control what land users could do or landowners could do on certain parts. And I'm going to tell you, here's the problem. Even that doesn't have as much control as I might have wanted it to have in certain places, which is then frustrating when you see that come down the line. I guess the only thing I would offer up to my colleague is this. To the extent that you were willing to just look at this and say, we'll keep it RLD, we'll keep them as a permitted conditional use, and to the extent that they want to look to expand, whether it's through Article 18 and the rewrite, or whether it's through some sort of text amendment down the road that specifically looks at this, I generally refer to those as red-headed Eskimo bill, but like that idea that you sort of write a bill that's for one place and one place only, but it's intended for that, that's an option that you could do to try to help them. I just look at that because, having been through this myself and had to make these tough decisions and think we were doing everything we could to belt and suspender it and then see what still comes, I know that you will share the same frustration that I share when you're like, I didn't want that to happen that way, and it's still happening. You're like, somebody lied to me. And I'm not saying this property owner's doing that, because they may not.
Right.
But they may be telling the truth today, and then they may change their mind tomorrow, and they may still be telling the truth tomorrow, and they didn't lie to anybody because they weren't lying when they said it. They might just change their mind. So I just offer that to you because I certainly would, with the benefit of hindsight, offer that as just a thought for you. So that's all.
So if this is something, this is really difficult to sort of address right here, but this is how this process works. Things move really quickly. If this is something my colleagues would be willing to have further conversations about and, see if there is another path forward that might be through either a change that we make or, adopting Article 18 or through a text amendment so that we could get the property owner what they want, but with providing the protections that the community wants. I would be willing to withdraw this amendment and have further discussion. If that's, I can do that, right? I just would need my second to.
What?
Do you have enough
We would
time?
need to withdraw the second as well.
We need to
Right.
withdraw the
But
motion.
would my, just conversationally, would my colleagues be open to like seeking out a different path to find a better compromise between to address the concerns of the community? I see that obviously they're nodding. And the property owner obviously would like to move this forward, but if we can find something that's more of a compromise that gets both to the table, honestly, I think everyone will feel better in the end. So if my colleagues are willing to have those discussions, I'm willing to withdraw of my second. Am I seeing nods all around? I'm seeing some clear nods.
I'll just say.
Who was the second?
It was Pete.
Did you
or
withdraw your
Councilman
second?
Smith.
I'll withdraw my second on the notion that the administration is also flexible with my colleagues' comments, Ms. Ravi, in trying to find a pathway forward.
Christina Pompo with the Office of Planning and Zoning. My only concern is in the last two sets of amendments, which are across General's Highway, you just went up to C4 for two properties, and now you're not willing to go up to C3, and there's some equity issues there. I would say if you wanted to look for options to have a compromise, maybe you'd want to do it on all three properties, or you're going to go ahead and upzone the three properties.
I'll just say, for me, I'm happy to look at this from whatever angle is helpful. I will say this, having worked very hard to find compromise between the property owners and the community, I will just say that's real hard to do. And in the end, usually my experience, and I don't say this with any disrespect to the community, is the community never feels like they got quite enough as they thought they should have gotten, and the property owner is like, look, I'm willing to back off because they are willing to take incremental progress, whereas the community generally is like, no, 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 right? So I just say that because I don't think that there's any way to like make everyone completely happy, but I will say for myself, on a lot of these that I struggled with, I found myself getting to a place where I felt on behalf of the community I had done as good as I could do, and that was a place that I had to be comfortable with, so I just say that for you. I'm sort of waxing a bit poetic, and it's funny, Mr. Mann's here. He and I had this conversation the other day on the telephone. You know, as the longer you do this, the more you sort of reflect on it. So I'm just giving you that as a thought.
And I haven't had that. I mean, obviously, the other region that is in my district is generally very, the parts that we were spending a lot of time are actually quite appropriate for more intense and dense use. We got the capital city in my district. So, this is a very different kind of situation. So I would be comfortable withdrawing this amendment. And then I guess if we want to have similar conversations, that would be up to my colleagues to change votes. I mean, that's the only way we could do it right now, right?
So,
withdraw the amendment.
You're talking about the last one.
Yeah, but I'm talking about what Ms. Pompa just raised.
Yeah. And I guess point of order, well, really it's an information point to the point. We could always come back with another amendment and do something different, so we don't need to do a motion to reconsider. And to the extent there's some grand compromise that you figure out for this entire area, you could do that with one amendment for the entirety. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Smith?
So, and there's also the provision, if we're all on board, as long as you got 5 of us to do an emergency sort of situation, you could buy yourself some time over the next couple of weeks to really figure that out. But I will withdraw my second to
Okay, then I
assist you
will
with your efforts.
withdraw this amendment, and I will not introduce the corresponding zoning amendment at this time. And we will have further discussions to see if we can get to both the concerns of the community and the concerns of the property owner at the same time.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will just add to the conversation. One, I'm glad that we clarified that we can come back and amend, and we may very well see this amendment again once the rest of the council walks through the challenges that come with landscaping and plant sales. I have done a bill on it in the past. It is incredibly challenging. I think based on what we've seen from the Article 18 rewrite, there's improvements coming. But I don't know that, to Mr. Volke's point, I don't know that you're going to be able to find something that works either, and we might be right back here, but I'm willing to support just kind of a pause at this time.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I really appreciate my colleagues taking the time to have the conversation. I felt like this conversation needed to happen in public, for the complete transparency of everything that's going on here. So I appreciate my colleagues' willingness to have this conversation, and we will come back to the table with something that hopefully can get everyone to their desired outcome.
Okay. So, Madam Secretary, where does that put us?
It puts us, we can go ahead with amendment number 5 to bill number 226, if you let me to read that one in.
So amendment, all right. Skip that one. All right. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 5 to bill 226.
Amendment number 5 to bill number 226. This amendment changes the zoning of the property known as parcel 381 on tax map 31, located at 1341 Sunrise Beach Road, Crownsville, from C1 local commercial to C3 general commercial.
Ms. Robian.
Thank you. So this is another tricky property currently, or in the existing, not as proposed. In the existing, this is RLD. This is RLD. Thank you. I wasn't sure if it was RLD. Thank you. It's RLD. And the bill as proposed to us brings it to C1. My amendment would bring it to C3. And that is basically, okay, so why are we going from RLD to commercial in the first place? So this is the intersection of Generals Highway and Sunrise Beach, where you may picture a construction site that will bring a new fire station to that area, which needs shorter response times. And it's going to be a beautiful fire station. Hopefully it'll open someday soon. Because this property is across the street from the fire station, the property owner understandably does not feel it is appropriate for residential use anymore. Imagine how successful you could be, living in a house or selling residential property across the street from a fire station, where you could have, sounds going on at any hours of the night. So that is the impetus for switching this to commercial. The market conditions, from my understanding, based on the representations of the property owner, is that C1 would be very difficult. This is just to clarify too, this is a partially developed, it's a wooded property, but it also is previously developed. It is not an undeveloped property. And so market conditions, my understanding is that it would be difficult even as a C1, and so they've requested C3. And I move amendment number 5.
Administration?
Yes, the administration, we don't offer an objection to this amendment. However, I want to make sure that Patrick has an opportunity to give some additional context for this particular amendment.
Patrick Hughes, Office of Planning and Zoning. As you noted, it is immediately across from the new county fire station. We had supported rezoning to C1 in order to maintain a lower intensity commercial scale there along Generals Highway. The SAC did not support that. They supported maintaining the existing RLD zoning, citing concerns with compatibility with the surrounding area and concerns with traffic. The PAB, however, did support the initial C3 request. And then, yes, as you said, we would offer no objection to this amendment.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Volke.
Just again, to the extent it's helpful, I'll share it. I have Lakeshore Firehouse that's directly across from residential in my district. And it's a beautiful firehouse, and they built it, but there are residences right across the street. They don't come out, sounds blaring. They come out with lights, but not with sounds, and they've got a traffic signal and all that. So I will say, at least the concern about the noise, I think is probably not quite as, I can just say from personal experience, it's probably not that bad. I'm familiar with this because my uncle used to live in Harold Harbor, so I know that area well. I used to go to the Wawa there a lot as a kid. When we were down there, we'd stop in. So I know exactly where that corner is and what it looks like. And when you think about it, it's like you got the Wawa, you got the Bean Rush down the street, you got nothing over on this side, you got nothing on the other corner. But if I look at the zoning map with the commercial on the corners, if we now hit 3 of them, it's only a matter of time before that 4th corner becomes commercial too. Because that's going to be, it's either going to be a change request or it's going to be rezoning in the next round. So I put that to you because just so you know where that's going, because I'm sure that'll be the next person who comes in. And then that whole intersection is going to be failing at that point. Then it's going to need significant traffic improvements probably to do anything with it. So just sharing that in terms of going to C3, because that opens a lot more options up for that. That's all I'll say about that. But again, like Mr. Smith said, in the end, if you think this is the right thing, I'm happy to back you on it. I just think it sounds like it's been not a consensus decision from all the other groups that have looked at it, which puts you in a tough spot, obviously.
You hit the nail on the head. There hasn't been, if there were consensus decisions on these things, we wouldn't be here. So, trying to find the most fair path forward. So, and I, with respect to the fire station, I actually lived for about a year and a half down the street from the Woodland Beach Volunteer Fire Department. And I lived far enough away that I didn't, really have to worry about sound. But is the impact different when that fire station appears in your neighborhood, or it is there and you're then going to purchase a home? Where you look, or is it different when the fire station appears and is built while you already live there? Yeah. Or the houses are existing and, sort of a different impression when you're talking about brand new construction. So to me, there is an issue of fairness to that property owner. That property owner had no say as to whether or not this fire station was going to be there. So, from one perspective, yes, you are correct. But the county has created the change in this. I would think most people would argue a fire station is probably still going to be a little more disruptive to the neighborhood than the Wawa was. Questions just difficult questions that we're trying to answer. So here we are. Did I move this amendment? Yes. Okay, thank you. I thought we had, okay. And it's been seconded, so.
All right. So, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 5 to bill number 226.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Volke?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 5 to bill number 226 has been adopted.
And that's all we have on this, correct, Ms.? I'm making sure I didn't skip something. All right. Bill number 126 as amended and bill number 226 as amended will be heard again on March 2nd, 2026. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of bill number 326 and bill number 426.
Bill number 326, an ordinance concerning General Development Plan, Region 8 Plan. Bill number 426, an ordinance concerning Comprehensive Zoning, Region 8.
Mr. Evelyn?
Yes, Jansen Ethan from the administration. To my right, Christina Pompa. We also have Eric Ketterlin, Cindy Carrier, and Kelly Kenny. This is Region Bills 326 and 426 are with regards to the Region 8 plan. As you can see from the legislation, Region 8 is about preservation. This plan covers the majority of our agricultural area. That includes Davidsonville, Edgewater, Harwood, Lothian, and Wason's Corner. And a couple more areas, but you get the drift.
All right. Is there any discussion? Council, does anyone object to a joint public hearing on bills number 326 and 426, which are both related to Region 8? No one? Okay. We will now open the joint public hearing on Bill number 326 and Bill number 426. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on bills number 326 or 426? Seeing no movement, the joint public hearing on bill numbers 326 and 426 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of bill number 326 and 426.
Bill number 326, an ordinance concerning General Development Plan, Region 8 Plan. Bill number 426, an ordinance concerning Comprehensive Zoning, Region 8.
Okay, any further discussion? May I get a motion to hold the vote on bill number 326 until March 2nd, 2026?
Ledbetter, so moved.
Second.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to hold the vote on bill number 326 until March 2nd, 2026.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Volke?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold the vote on bill number 326 until March 2nd has passed.
May I get a motion to hold the vote on bill number 426 until March 2nd, 2026?
Second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to hold the vote on bill number 426 until March 2nd, 2026.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Volke?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold the vote on bill number 426 until March 2nd has passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of bill number 926.
Bill number 926, an ordinance concerning zoning conditional uses of battery energy storage systems.
Ms. Fiedler is the main sponsor on this, and myself and Ms. Pickard and Mr. Smith are all co-sponsors. Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The bill does exactly what the summary indicates. It adds a use to the use chart for conditional uses in almost all zoning districts. I know that there may be an amendment offered this evening. There is still work to be done on this. I have heard from BG&E. They have some proposed amendments that I'm considering and have been working with other stakeholders. Some of those seem to be okay to move forward with, but do not have the language drafted for introduction this evening as an amendment.
And I will add that I had an amendment to be done, and I just found it sitting in my draft email that I never sent to Legislative Council, so I'm with you. Yes, I have another amendment or two to come off for this as well, but I didn't quite have it together. I was like, where are those amendments? There they are, sitting in the draft. So, administration.
Good evening again. Chance Needle on behalf of the administration. To my right is Lynn Miller, Assistant Plan and Zoning Officer, Lawrence Schultz. Is that correct, sir? Did I pronounce it accurate? Schultz, Assistant Fire Chief, and Kelly Kenny. As Councilmember Fiedler just noted, I have had conversations with Councilmember Fiedler. We know that this bill is early in the legislative process, and there are lots of discussions that remain outstanding.
Okay. Any discussion? We will now open the public hearing on bill number 926. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair. We received 7 pieces which were shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on bill number 926? We do have some folks come up. Please come up to the table and have a seat. When it's your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts as early as tomorrow using our online testimony tool. Go right ahead. Somebody jump on in.
I'll start. Good evening, Kira Wheatley from Hyatt & Weber. I'm here on behalf of my client, CME Mar LLC. Here with me tonight is a representative from CME Mar, Mr. Evan Platt, who also will provide you some testimony regarding the bill. I did submit some written testimony through the online portal and would direct you to that testimony. It was an attempt to answer a lot of the questions that were raised during the work session on February 10th. So we hope that we address some of those questions as far as emergency response planning and some of the other features of the bill. The CMEMR supports the bill, which would bring reliable and efficient energy storage to Anne Arundel County. Maryland recently passed the Renewable Energy Certainty Act, which went into effect July of 2025. Under Section 7219F1 of the Public Utilities Article, that act prohibits local jurisdictions from adopting zoning laws or regulations that prohibit front-of-the-meter energy storage devices. The difference between front-of-the-meter energy storage devices and behind-the-meter energy storage devices are more thoroughly addressed in the written testimony I submitted online, but in sum, if the facility charges from and discharges directly to the grid, it would be considered a front-of-the-meter energy storage device. So that can be a battery energy storage device. There could be different types of battery energy storage devices. This bill specifically contemplates allowing front-of-the-meter battery energy storage facilities, and the goal of this bill is to really just bring the county code into compliance with the state code and allow these battery energy storage systems as a principal permitted use in certain zoning districts. We have no opposition to the amendment that will be proposed tonight as far as removing the use from the RA district. So on behalf of CMEMR, we support the bill and would be happy to answer any further questions the council may have, and thank you for your time and consideration of this bill.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
County Council, thank you for your time. My name is Evan Platt. I'm here on behalf of CMEMR, Mid-Atlantic Reliable Energy. Our company specializes in developing large-scale, front-of-the-meter battery energy storage solutions, BESS, across the Mid-Atlantic region. Our batteries deploy the batteries we deploy are approximately the size of shipping containers, measuring about 40 feet by 10 feet, arranged in a series spanning 5 to 10 acres. They utilize a well-established chemistry similar to that found in smartphones, but on a significantly larger scale. The Maryland Public Service Commission, Maryland PSC, has identified a pressing need for more front-of-the-meter battery energy storage in the state. Similarly, the Regional Transmission Operator, PJM, has outlined its need for expanded energy infrastructure across the Mid-Atlantic region. Both Maryland PSC and PJM are addressing a growing gap between energy supply and energy demand in the Mid-Atlantic. This gap results from the retirement of aging power plants, which has diminished energy supply, combined with a substantial increase in demand driven by peak loads from newly built hyperscale data centers. From front-of-the-meter battery energy storage provides immediate power backup, enhancing grid resilience during energy shortages. For example, battery energy storage can help prevent blackouts during the hottest hours of the day when energy demand is at its peak. Additionally, front-of-the-meter battery energy storage helps stabilize costs by charging during low-cost energy periods and discharging during peak energy periods. This reduces energy costs for the local community and brings down energy prices for critical facilities like hospitals, schools, and residential homes. I can also add that battery energy storage has minimal traffic.
Mr. Higgins.
Yeah.
I live in Pasadena, Maryland. I'm very familiar as well with these battery systems. Matter of fact, I am going to California to dismantle 2 containers full of batteries that my company installed, but they never went into service because technology changed, okay? And my concern is, we sat here earlier and we talked about signs, and signs touch 3 different bills. We're kind of putting this battery storage bill through, and it touches a lot of things in this county, from emergency response to building code. It's not just a zoning thing. And this needs to be looked at. I'm not against the technology of figuring out how to use it right, okay? But to just shoot it before this council as a permitted use and have it start dropping in, I think we need to make sure all the rest of the infrastructure is there to underpin it. So I would be against any movement until I see the amendments or whatever. I think the fire department needs to look at this. I mean, we've got battery chargers sitting in every car garage now, and That's introducing a different level of safety service that's required. So it's a growing technology. There's potential there. We just have to do it the right way, and we got to do it planned. It can't just be bits and pieces stuck together. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. So the public hearing on Bill number 926 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 926.
Bill number 926, an ordinance concerning zoning conditional uses battery energy storage systems.
Any further discussion before we move on to the amendment? Ms. Fiedler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, for the record, want to clarify that this is not being introduced as a permitted use. It is a conditional use, with some of the initial conditions being located within 1 mile of an existing substation facility located at least 2.5 miles from critical areas, and vehicular access for the facility being from a principal arterial road and within 2.5 miles of a freeway or from a freeway. So that kind of limits the locations, but I think we're going to see some more limitations, or I don't know, maybe more expansions down the road. I think that this is just a jumping off conversation to have this use in the chart, but I do want to address your concerns to the best of our ability as well.
We have one amendment. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 1.
Amendment number 1. This amendment removes residential districts from the zoning districts where battery energy storage systems may be located.
Mr. Volke?
Yes, thank you. So we talked about this at the work session a little bit, and I did have an opportunity to speak with one of the folks who was behind this legislation, and as noted, there is no objection to it. The biggest concern with having these battery energy storage systems in RA, I think there was some model legislation that was reviewed to draft this particular legislation, and that model legislation may have had these uses in RA, but we heard about how much water these take to put out these fires, and the solution to any kind of fire on a battery storage facility is going to be just copious amounts of water. And RA is one of the places where we have the highest water challenges. So it doesn't seem like that's going to make a lot of sense to put that there. And I think my understanding, hopefully from the admin and from what I talked to the folks who are interested in this bill, is they don't have a problem taking this out of RA. So hopefully we can do that pretty simply, and we can keep talking about where these should go and what the right places are. That's the purpose for the amendment. Ask for my colleagues' support.
We have a second?
Rodman.
Ms. Fiedler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarification's sake, I thought that it was removing just RA, but then the amendment is removing the entire residential paragraph lines. Am I reading that correctly?
That's what the amendment says.
Sorry. RA was the only residential district where this would even land.
You are correct.
I promise, we thought about it.
I appreciate that.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Administration, your thoughts on this?
Jansen Eve on behalf of the administration. Lynn Miller, Assistant Planning and Zoning Officer, she wanted to, again, we take no position on this particular amendment, but we wanted to express some of the just thoughts, concerns behind the potential impacts of this amendment.
Sure, thank you. I wanted to note, we are aware of at least one battery storage system that's in the RA district. It was approved a few years ago through a special exception because it was treated as a public utility use, which is a special exception allowed in all residential zoning districts. And I guess my comment or potential concern, and I admittedly do not know a whole lot about battery storage systems, but my understanding is they're not necessarily always located next to a substation. There might be a need to locate one in various locations along the distribution system, wherever you have a constraint in capacity and you need to shore up the system. So I'm just wondering if by disallowing them in all residential zones, which is the majority of land area in the county, would we be overly restricting places where the energy grid legitimately needs to be shored up and we wouldn't have that opportunity? So I don't know if it's something that warrants more discussion with energy providers or people who are more of a subject matter expert than I am on the topic, but it was just one concern we had.
So I've had some discussions with BGE, and while what we've been talking about here is the large-scale battery systems, BGE informed us that they have smaller ones that actually don't have to be next to a substation, that can be at some of their feeder things. I do agree. I'm going to support this amendment tonight, but I'm going to follow up further with BGE to see if that, because if we're already allowing some there may be, and there's not as much of a risk with the smaller ones than the giant-sized ones we have, that may be something we would want to revisit to come down. Ms. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question was, assuming this amendment passes, so under this bill, this type of battery storage no longer is conditional and residential, would the special exception path for something that would be considered more a public utility type use with battery storage still be available to someone who wanted to try? I know it's not guaranteed, it's a process, but would that path be open to them to attempt?
Short answer is, so we received this amendment today, and I know that we want to continue to have additional discussions with some of those potential public utilities that would be better equipped to give us the guidance on answering that question. But that is something that is in the back of our minds.
Fair, thank you.
Ms. Fiedler. Mr. Volke.
Depends what the Article 18 rewrite says. That's the answer. Because depending how you define it, it will depend whether it fits under that or not. It's kind of a flippant answer, but also a serious answer.
Also a good answer. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Okay. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 1.
I already did that. We can move to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 1.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 to bill number 926 has been adopted.
Bill number 926 as amended will be heard on March 2nd, 2026. Madam Secretary, please read the title of bill number 1026.
Bill number 1026, an ordinance concerning boards, commissions, and similar bodies, Police Accountability Board, training.
So this is my bill. This is at the request of the Police Accountability Board, asking that we expand their annual ride-alongs to include the possibility of riding along with any of our law enforcement agencies, not just the police department. Mr. Evelyn?
Yes, Jansen Needs on behalf of the administration. If you're wondering why I'm still here on this particular bill, as you may recall, I originally served as the inaugural director of the Office of Police Accountability, and this is a straightforward request from the Police Accountability Board. And currently, PAB members, they do ride-alongs with county police, and this expands the requirements to ensure that they're doing it with all the other LEAs that they work with within Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
So along with my amendment to the previous bill, there was an amendment to this that was also sitting in my drafts that I never sent to Legislative Council. And I mean, and it was again at the request of the Police Accountability Board, just a clarification of language. So I would ask that we would hold this bill just till next week so I can actually get my amendments in. I got amendments in for some things, and then one of them I didn't. So do we need to vote to hold?
We need to do our public hearing as
first.
advertised.
Okay. We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 1026. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay. No one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on Bill number 1026? Seeing no movement, the public hearing on Bill number 1026 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read. Now we vote to hold Bill 1026.
You need a second.
Oh,
you
do I
need a
have a
motion to
second?
hold and then a second.
A motion. Okay, there we go. So please call the roll.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Radvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold the vote on Bill number 1026 until March 2nd has passed.
All right. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution number 226.
Resolution number 226, resolution urging the county executive to provide transparency and allow for more public input by releasing a preliminary FY27 budget no later than April 1, 2026.
Mr. Volkey.
We talked about this a lot at the work session. I want to thank Mr. Trumbauer for patiently answering my questions and those of the other people, the other members, on the council. I don't feel a need to make any further statements on this because I've already explained why. I think this would be helpful, again, with no aspersions against the budget office or the good work that they do. With that being said, if anyone has questions, I'm happy to try to answer them the best I can.
Okay. Ms. Fiedler, would you like to say anything as a co-sponsor? Yeah.
Ditto.
Ditto. All right. There
Mr.
we go.
Volkey.
Okay. Ms. Ledbetter.
Madam Secretary, could you add me as a co-sponsor as well, please? Thank you.
Yes, no to Ms. Ledbetter, thank you.
Ms. Rodbian.
Thank you. I really just wanted to take a moment to apologize to my colleague, Mr. Volkey, for bringing some, I think, unnecessarily direct words on this resolution. I obviously don't support it, but I just think I was a little over the top in my opposition, so my apologies.
We're being so nice to each other tonight. Wow.
Look, I voted for her amendment on the birds.
I
so
know you
that's-
did. I said this is like, a love fest
And
going
this
on
was
tonight.
in my mind before the support for the birds.
Thank you. You didn't have to say that, but thank you. It is appreciated.
All right. So, administration, Mr. Trumbauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer for the administration and also the budget officer, joined by Ms. Kelly from the law office. I'll reiterate the sponsor's comments that we enjoyed the spirited discussion at the work session. No need to rehash that. But I will emphasize that the administration and me in particular would ask you to reject this for the simple reason that the budget team is very busy during this time of year producing the budget by May 1st, and we'd ask that you not request an additional work product during that time. Happy to answer any questions, but leave it to you guys to vote.
All right. We will now open the public hearing on resolution number 226. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, no one signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on resolution number 226? Seeing no movement, the public hearing on resolution number 226 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 226.
Resolution number 226, resolution urging the county executive to provide transparency and allow for more public input by releasing a preliminary FY27 budget no later than April 1, 2026.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on resolution number 226.
Ms. Pickard.
Nay.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Radvian.
Nay.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Nay.
And Ms. Hummer.
Nay.
3 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. Resolution number 226 has been defeated.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 326.
Resolution number 326, resolution urging members of the General Assembly to oppose House Bill 488, election districts, General Assembly, and representatives in Congress.
Mr. Volkey.
Thank you. So I will make a few remarks and then I will withdraw this resolution. So I will simply say I think that this resolution is something that is worthy of consideration for our county, considering the legislation at the state level that is assessing whether to change congressional districts mid-cycle or not. And the reason that I think it matters for our county is because we are one of the largest affected counties in terms of any sort of change in representation. We currently are split into 2 congressional districts. The proposed maps would split us into 3, and it would take significant portions of Anne Arundel County and put them in the same district as the Eastern Shore, which, as much as I know all of us enjoy going to the Eastern Shore and we have family and friends there, et cetera, and we can all speak on that, I'm not sure that their interests are entirely the same as ours, and I think that the way the congressional districts are set right now probably makes more sense in terms of their contiguous nature. That said, to avoid us winding up in a situation where all of us are sort of putting in resolutions on different things that may create nationalized type tensions at the local level, which is not helpful. I am going to withdraw this resolution, and I am going to say, we will see what the state does, and we will go with that. So that's my comment, and I'm moving to withdraw. I don't think there's any problem with a withdrawal, right?
We need the co-sponsors to also
They'll
withdraw.
agree.
Okay. I need them to on the record.
They get to speak. They get to speak.
Just making it clear.
Oh, Ms. Ledbetter.
I also withdraw.
Okay. Ms. Fiedler.
Withdraw.
Okay. Mr. Smith.
I was just going to say that the sponsors could also write individual letters letting the General Assembly know what their perception is and opinion is on the particular issue as well.
Agreed and appreciate that.
Okay. All right. So that one is withdrawn. Is there any other business any council member would like to bring before the county council at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. All in favor? The county council is adjourned to the public until Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at 7 p.m. for our next legislative session here in our chambers. So next time is 7 p.m. Tonight was 6. Next time is 7.